What's going on? I think we should be good. Let me double check and make sure everything is a-okay. It should be okay. It looks like it's recording. What's going on, guys? This is the first episode of my podcast. Um, for those of you who don't know, I am joined here by Zio, who's a good friend of ours here on the channel. Say hi, Zio.
What's up?
And today I kind of wanted to do an episode of the podcast where, obviously, excuse me, of course, I'm going to cough in the first episode of the podcast and just completely ruin it. But I kind of wanted to do an introductory towards what the podcast is and then get into the interview. So, real quick, the podcast is going to be me talking to other content creators within the Beyblade sphere. Um, so it's basically just going to be a format where I'm going to ask them some questions, nothing too long, and then we just kind of have some free form, free flow discussion. Um, so that's kind of going to be the structure of it. So there are a few topics where I'm going to kind of interview them, pick their brain on it, kind of guide the conversation, and then after that, it's going to be more of a uh, kind of just more open discussion. You ready, Zio, to just kind of get right into it, my boy?
Yeah.
Okay, so first
All
topic of
right.
discussion. Go ahead and let people, kind of know who you are and what you do on your channel.
All right, everybody. Thank you for having me here, Matt, and welcome to the podcast, guys. My name is Zio. I'm the first guest um, on the first episode, of course. So I'm a blader um, based out of Southwest Florida, and I have a channel with the handle being at Bayland_bro. That's where I do a lot of my actually all my content, right? I do have some old content on like TikTok, but I don't really upload on there anymore, so that doesn't really matter. But
I mean, I am
in my
gonna.
channel,
I will say this. I sorry to interrupt, but I will be leaving a link, by the way, to Zio's channel in the comments down below. I will be linking the content creators' channels, so that way you guys can, go and find them. Um, so if you want to leave your TikTok and like a comment, uh, I'll go ahead and pin that as well.
all right. Well, thank you for that, Matt. So to go over what's done on my channel, right? In some depth. So my channel for a while was just like unboxings, reviews, some test battles. If you ever got to see, I was doing this like kind of tournament format, like battle with my entire collection against each other. It was called Championship X. Very early viewers, before I even met Matt, saw that, and that was pretty cool. But then, I was planning to do a second one. However, I scrapped that idea. Um, I don't think I'll be making a second one, but maybe I will. Maybe I'll just start over. Anyways, and apart from that, apart from unboxings, reviews, I've actually been doing like topics. Like, how can I say it? I dedicate certain topics to a video and basically just make um, videos off of that. I can make videos off of requests. So if you request a combination to be seen in a video, and maybe you want me to test something out, a certain combination, maybe you want me to, I don't know, let's say you've been testing three combinations and you come to me on a platform. Maybe it's YouTube comments, maybe it's uh, Instagram or TikTok, because I've had people come to me there too and ask me, hey, so I have an event coming up and I need you to help me with this. I have some combinations that I've been trying. I want to see what you thought and basically give your take. And I will gladly give my take. I'll go over them, review them, basically put them through the fire, test them, and give you my honest thoughts about it. Of course, I don't speak in such, like, how can I say it? I don't act as if my words are fact, because of course in Beyblade the main thing is that everybody has their way of playing. So I will give you strictly my take, my opinion, right? That's always on the channel is my opinion, and never try to act like something is very factual, right? Because even when like I have certain things happen in test battles, other things tend to happen too. So it's like even in my own videos, things that are contrary to what I say happen. So I've also been doing live videos recently, more live videos, because I just feel like they're a bit easier to do. I enjoy them more. They really show you like how I practice, how I play, how I think in real time, and it's not like dedicated to just one topic. I'm just all over the place, and you get to see a little bit of this, you get to see a little bit of that, and I'm just going everywhere, and I'm just thinking so much about so many things, and so if you really want to like pick my brain, tune into the live videos. Go back and watch some old ones, and hopefully you learn a lot. But yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing for the foreseeable future is more live videos. And whenever I do get to unbox new bays, then you will see that too in the form of a regular video. All right,
Word.
that's it.
So that does lead me actually into our first question because now you have done tournaments before. You've been in a few, and you and I had a really interesting conversation that I think a lot of people don't understand because there are differences between the TT and uh, the Hasbro Stadium. And one of the things that I've realized people don't understand is the Hasbro Stadium tournaments are just remarkably difficult in comparison to the TT because whoever executes everything perfectly is just going to be who wins. And I will say, if you come from Hasbro, TT tournaments are a lot easier, and you're probably going to sweep most people. And people
Absolutely.
think,
Yep.
yeah, people think that it's a joke. But I'm like, no. Once you've learned to play in Hasbro, TT makes so much more sense. It becomes so much easier to deal with even an advanced or more aggressive player in a TT stadium. Whereas in a Hasbro stadium, the Hasbro boys are in the killing business and business is good. Like they are all about just getting you
Yes.
out as soon as possible. And you recently had an experience where, because you've competed in TT, but you recently went to a Hasbro tournament. Can you expand on that experience and what that was like?
Yeah, so let me start off here. So I've been to two tournaments in total, right? I went to a tournament more up north Florida. Well, maybe it wasn't up north Florida, but like you guys know Bradenton, right? Bradenton, Florida.
Yeah, I know where that's
Uh,
at.
big place, right? And so I went to a certain like venue, a certain game store, and they were hosting a tournament there. And they were TT, right? We did have one user of the Hasbro Stadium because I remember walking in, I was like, man, that thing is so big. And I was like, kind of thinking to myself, but I sometimes think out loud. And then one of the players turned around and she was like, oh, you use Hasbro too? And I'm like, oh, yeah, yeah. And she was like, yeah, me too. And so we had another Hasbro player in there, right? But because it wasn't in a Hasbro stadium, it wasn't quite as hard as my second tournament, which took place down here in Southwest Florida, and that was just all Hasbro. I was expecting to walk in and see the flashy white on green rails, TT Stadium, big and nice. But no, it was what I play with at home every time I play Beyblade, you know? And I don't play it every day anymore, but, you know, when I do practice, man, I practice. I practice so much. Anyways, so basically, this is how it went down, right? So we had plenty of players, right? And we had people with their Phoenix, their Dragoon on Elevate, you know what I mean? Their their Dragoon on Level, their Night Mail on, I don't know, 760. I forgot the bit, but
Yeah,
I
they like that
destroyed.
760 rush. They like that cheese,
Yeah,
100%. I've seen it a lot on
yeah.
760 Rush and Low Rush, and it's brutal.
It's brutal, yeah, but I kind of destroyed it with a stock rhino in that tournament, so I don't know. But
Oh, I struggle with it. I ain't
I
gonna
don't
lie.
play.
I hate night mail.
Yeah, I haven't had enough experience to say whether I could completely beat it or not, like consistently, is what I'm saying. Cause I only faced it like a couple times or a few times. Anyway, so we use your usual copy and paste combinations. Your Dragoon on Elevate, your Wizard Rod 960 ball, your all of your meta combinations and stuff. Um,
Yeah, the more standard fare, I'd say. Oh, hello.
my bad. I had an interruption. Somebody walked into my room.
Oh, you're good. It's I thought potentially you had dropped. I was gonna have to uh pause the record. I was just gonna pause the recording and wait for you to come back. But you're good. You're good.
Yeah. Anyway, so back from that. Um, yeah. Basically, everything that you hear is meta. It was there. The Silver Wolf on Hexa, the Rod on 960 ball, 560 ball. There was actually a Hell Scythe user there, and he was pretty good.
Oh hell yeah, I love
Um,
Hell Scythe.
yeah, pretty outstanding, and I give him props because he was the only guy who like kind of had rogue combos in that tournament. And there was this other dude who was actually using Rhino Horn too, but as an attacker. And I was there with Rhino Horn too. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, yeah, these guys might be serious. I took fights with them more seriously. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, no, I
Because
agree because I feel like a lot of people who run more rogue, like I'll give you an example. Recently, I've been at like Bays and Beers, right? I've been running, um, and actually, I think I featured it. I might have featured it in my last video. Wizard Rod on, Transpoint, and it's such a different way to play Rod, but because it's got more stamina than you might think, and then it's lower, so the lower attackers don't just eat Rod for breakfast. Like, so a lot of them go low, predicting my switch into Rod, and then they're just like, oh, I can't just up scoop it out. I'm hitting it laterally, and it's heavy, and it's like, you know what I mean? Like they don't know what to do with it. It's just it's kind of a. I've noticed when you play non-meta, not that I think there's anything wrong with meta. Let's be honest. I use 560 Elevate and 560 Low Rush Dragoon. Um, I have nothing against the meta. I just think when you're using nothing but meta, you do become predictable.
yeah, like I will say, meta is not bad whatsoever, not at all. But when you depend on that solely to win, and like you're just you kind of lose touch with so many things because, like I said, I made a point. Um, I made a comment in your YouTube video that was about the Takara Tomy Stadium purists, and I did say that like it took geniuses and it took people thinkers to find the meta, but then like once you have the meta and like you slowly add or I guess like subtract from the meta once new releases start coming in, it's kind of like where's the like variety? Like once you start going, like once you start experimenting enough, you're either gonna get as meta as it gets, or you're just gonna like decline and like kind of stray away from that because
Yeah.
I mean it's just not like there's not enough variety, and that's fine. I mean there's a whole nother game, like there's a whole game out there to be explored. It's just enough people don't do it, and then eventually they get a bit rusty. They get a bit washed. I'm not gonna lie. They get a bit washed. I
Well,
wasn't
see, that's
supposed
yeah,
to knock out.
that's the
Yeah.
biggest
Huh?
thing. And then they get complacent, right? Um, and then when they do encounter somebody who plays differently, who's thinking, trying to piece them apart, um, it does, I notice, somewhat kind of throw off their game, and they kind of just don't know where to where to go or what to do from that point forward, because it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm used to using this specific combo, in the context, right, of um, X, Y, and Z. Like, I'm used to using this against Wizard Rod, right? Okay, well, he's running, I don't know, Hell's Chain is a stamina type, and the way he's playing Hell's Chain as a stamina type is aggressive, right? So, holy
Right.
shit, I don't know what to do to counter this. And I've noticed it does create a big problem because they're so concerned with the quote unquote meta, right? That it ends up almost burning them in the end. Like, if that makes sense. Like, it ends up kind of, I almost want to say it puts them in the mindset of I'm gonna auto win. Every battle is gonna be exactly the same. And then when it's not like that, right, it becomes a bit of a problem, and they just don't know how to cope. So, and it's interesting you say that, because going to a Hasbro tournament, I've often said Hasbro tournaments are very aggressive, and a lot of TT players have a tendency to struggle with Hasbro tournaments due to their very aggressive nature and the fact that everything has to be perfect. Every
Yeah.
movement has to be perfect. And it's interesting, though, you did say that there was still meta in a Hasbro, and it's not that different from TT. The Hasbro Stadium is not that different from the TT Stadium. It is really just a primary difference of, okay, well, in Hasbro, I'm punished when I do something wrong, which forces me to be better. And another thing that I find interesting, because you use stock combo Rhino Horn, I got a buddy of mine that like loves stock Rhino Horn, and it's very like you would think on paper, well, it's on spike, that's not a good bit. It's small, so it's not a good like blade shape. Oh, it's got like an 80 height ratchet. This should be GG easy. And then you play against it, and they're ripping harder than God. They're tilting, so you can't just initially hit them out the gate, or else you're just gonna get completely and totally flooded. And then they start predicting that, because they'll flood you with shielding to like scoop you out or knock you out, and then they figure out that's not going to happen, so they just start launching the fucking thing at your face, and you're just like, what the hell is this? But I think it
Yeah.
comes down to just being prepared. I feel like non-meta players recognize the threat that's there, right, and are always attempting to be prepared for it. Um, Also, another thing that I have noticed, that I wanted to kind of talk with you about, um, on the issue of um, TT and meta. You really like myself, obviously, like experimenting and not necessarily always doing something with, um, shall we say, more standard approach. Like, you and I both like making different varied combos and testing a lot of the parts that a lot of people, I feel, just leave on the cutting room floor, that I think a lot of people are just like, oh, that's just not good. I don't like it. You know what I mean, etc. Um, as far as your experience goes, because I do want to kind of pick your brain on it. Um, as far as your experience goes with combo building, and what you do, where you are constantly testing different parts that maybe people have forgotten on, what is your overall opinion on these more forgotten or maybe non-meta parts? Because I most certainly have spoken at length about it, but um, I feel like I don't really uh, often get to ask people who experiment much. And I think that would be definitely something good for people to hear your take on it, and how you feel about that style of experimentation and what your process is like.
Yeah. So I want to put it this way. I think every part can find its own home, right? Every ratchet with every blade, every bit with every blade, every bit with every ratchet. It's just you need to find the compatibility in parts. I think that the discovery of meta went something like this. Imagine you have a village, right? And that village is rich in resources. And they they want to like crown somebody king. They want a monarch, I guess, right?
Right.
I don't know why they would want a monarch, but they want one
I want a
now. And
monarch.
so
I'm over this current government. Let me just be clear. I want a monarch. I want one guy that I could point to and be like, "You fucked up," and that's what led to this.
yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, it's like now let's say this village, rich of resources, is now gonna take a piece of what they got, and they're all gonna contribute together and build the king's castle, right? Um, build everything, right, and spend their time not only creating the king's castle, but also, applying, prepping the ceremony, I guess, for the new crowned royalty, right? That was meta. We took parts and we took blades from every corner of the game, and we came up with awesome shit, right? Now, what we can't do is after the village contributes so much of their resource, so much of their time and work, right, into making that
Yeah.
king's castle, we can't just like leave them there, right? Like we gotta go back and replenish the community, replenish the village, and I feel like that's something that's not being done. It's like it's as if somebody who was already king brought an army to a village, ordered them to build the castle, right?
No,
Used
I
up all
completely
their
agree. You have to
resources,
build your own castle
right?
and find your own way, 100%.
Yeah,
I could not have said it better myself because I feel like we really do that. We rely on somebody else to build our castle, and then we wonder why somebody who's built their castle, is able to piece ours apart. And it's like, did we ever really check the quality of work? 100%, I agree.
right. And the village is like everything. Like, how can I say it? A village that's left behind after helping you so much is kind of like everything that's kind of thrown away in this game. It's like we just left it there, useless. It's not useless actually, but we rendered it useless because it's not ideal. It's not most efficient technique available. It's not gonna hard carry you because it's so good. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
like I was saying, it's like a king who brought his army, told a village, hey, I want you to use your resources. I want you to put in the work under the hot sun to build my castle, right? And then
Yeah.
I'm going to live in that castle and just forget about you. And it's like, that's how we're treating the rest of these parts that aren't necessarily meta. I feel like we found meta, too many players got attached, some players stayed behind, and they're like building. They're thinking again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're finding ways. It's like they created it's kind of like a scientist creates his own monster to then go and prepare weapons to then go face that monster for his own amusement. That's what these rogue players are. That's what some of these thinkers are. People who contributed to finding out the meta and haven't gotten attached to the meta and have stayed back and kind of worked with these parts that deserve to be worked with. Um, it's kind of like that. You created a monster just so then later on you can, craft weapons and go fight it for fun. That's basically what they did.
I mean, I do agree as well because one of the things that I experienced, I had a while back done a Hell's Hammer um, combo video that was 380 and Spike. And at first, it was there were plenty of people who mocked, oh, it wouldn't work into because people had no idea I was competing in a TT format, and I shouldn't have to like in my opinion I shouldn't have to start a video. Oh, hey guys, by the way, I've won a whole bunch of TT tournaments. I was last year's champion. Like I'm just trying to show off the combo, and it was so funny because like that combo, that very simple 380 spike, two parts. Nobody's ever really I've seen used on Hell's Hammer. Combo is absolutely amazing. You're allowed to use down smash. It absorbs hits very well because of its natural blade profile and spike. And it was so funny to me because I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, bro, this has now become a meta. Although some people did run 370 um, instead of 80, but I feel like you don't get the edge of those blades to really connect the bottom edge, which is what deadens. I think connects best at 380. But it was funny because then I ended up facing it several times in tournaments after because not everybody wants to run Wolf, and the problem with Wolf as a defense type, yeah, it's very good, but it is still a stationary target and people have built to deal with it, whereas I felt like 380 spike hammer for somebody who's competent to play defense is going to be able to win with it, like period. It's just if you main defense, if defensive play is your thing, that bay is going to be like Hobson uses it and he absolutely loves it, and we were talking about it, we use it to just break people who are overly confident and cocky. And it's so bizarre because aside from like me, you, maybe a handful of other people in the community, like Saiga, a lot of people are just shut off and closed off to using these parts. And I think that is a major mistake. But I will say the mindset of most people, because most people would assume that they're intelligent, but they've never really, you know, asked themselves, am I really that smart? And I'm smart enough to know I'm stupid, which is why I experiment, because I look at it as, okay, well, I could either look at a piece of paper that says this is the most used and is the best, but it's not built or created for me. And like you said, it's not my castle, it's someone else's castle. Why would I want to live in someone else's castle unless I like that castle? But I would much rather have one that's made for me. And I think you were probably one of the very few people that I've seen use things like Gear Ball and these other bays. I think it's one of those things too where you, like me, will just test it on a live stream. And although you seem to hate live streaming, when I'm able to watch, I'm like, I'm always in the middle of doing something when you go live, and I'm like, oh my god, why? Say, oh no. Um, but it is one of those things where it almost is weird because you would think more people would want, especially given your analogy, it's like you would think more people would want to live in their own castle that they made, than they would just using what everyone else uses. But for some reason it's not, and maybe it's a laziness thing. Maybe it's a, oh hey, why would I bother to come up with it when it's gonna come up for itself? Um, but I hate it, man. Let me be very clear. I hate when people
Yeah,
just scoff at things, and it's like, okay, bro, but here's my Phoenix Wing on Gear Ball. I really hope you're used to dealing with this specific counterattacker because this isn't going to end well for you if not. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So it's it's
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
it's so just again bizarre to me. But this is I guess where we're at in the modern day, where it's let's make fun of, because I've seen people, one of the ways that I've seen people fail is they'll make fun of whatever combo, and then the person who's bringing it, or heck, sometimes even myself will be like, all right, cool, come run the set. And then you play, then they get outplayed and they're just sitting there flabbergasted, like the Pikachu face. So I do think there is definitely some, I think there's some, it's a mix of cockiness and I think laziness that has led us to the point where we no longer are like, yeah, I'm ready to experiment and see what, really truly works best for me. Um, and what actually is quote unquote meta is not always going to work the best for you as a player. So I 100% agree. And then lastly, I do want to just kind of open up the floor some, um, because for some discussion, because I do feel like, um, not a lot of people, and this is just something that I've again observed that I've seen regularly. Not a lot of people, now that we're in free folk discussion, not a lot of people are willing to put themselves out there, but a lot of them like to really like talk shit, right? And then it's like, if you go to their channels, there's no video of them ever practicing or trying to uh, make something work, right? There's not a lot of people like you out there who will be like, well, maybe this combo isn't bad, maybe I'm just using it wrong, and then spend hours, both on and off a live stream to figure it out and piece it together and say, okay, what am I doing wrong? Because there's something here. I'm just not getting it, right? And I don't think enough people get credit. I mean, obviously, there's always going to be those people that are just going to mass consume the standard content. I feel like there's part of the reason I want to do this podcast is because I want to give flowers to the people that are doing it while they're still here and they're still alive and they're still on the platform. I don't think a lot of these creators get credit for what they've done. And there have been combos that I've seen other creators use, and it was funny because someone was like, yo, they 100% were talking about your combo in the Discord and then featured on the. I'm like, dude, I don't care about that at all. I'm like, if one person gets, for me, if one person gets inspired to use it, go ahead, take it, use it as your own, claim it as your own. I don't particularly care. But it is one of those things where I will say I do feel like there are too many people that don't like. I really don't again do this for money or for views. But I have most certainly noticed that there's a lot of content creators that I feel deserve the views, and just don't get a lot of subs because they're not making the, and this is just me being real, clickbaity kind of low IQ, turn your brain off content that people, you know, just want to watch. Like, oh, this combo is amazing, the greatest combo ever. And then it's something that, like, you know, is like, well, it's good, but it's not that good. But you know, they made the coolest thumbnail or whatever. I just wanted to pick your brain on that because I feel like a lot of these channels, and I don't know why, but I feel like a lot of these channels that are trying to get this done and revolutionize, create the new next meta Bay, revolutionize somewhat the way we play Beyblade, just get no credit and no love whatsoever. And I'm wondering how you view that as somebody who's actively trying to do it, you know, who's saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to try to see if I can spike the meta, quote unquote, you know what I mean? So what's your
Yeah,
take on it?
my take. I will say, like, a lot of man, a lot of creators out there, they're just kind of they are kind of cookie cutter. You know, they kind of are like, you know, they're always just trying to create the best, the fastest, the heaviest. You know what I mean? And like basically, they look at the stats and they're like, oh, this is statistically the most successful bay because this blade has the most wins statistically over everything on average, and then this ratchet is statistically the best, and it doesn't burst, and then the bit, oh, this one's the best, and sometimes the math doesn't math, if you didn't know, so
Yeah,
let
no,
go of that, right?
100%.
But
100%. I
a
completely
lot of
agree.
times, like, yeah, I gotta say, man, that's why I kind of stress blade to bit compatibility because even though two things that should be good should just like come together and 1+1 = 2. No, man, sometimes it just doesn't work like that. At least for me,
No,
And
I
then
agree, man.
sometimes, yeah, like that gear ball video that I made, or like that take that I did on YouTube when I was talking about like, um, the bits.
Yeah.
I had just found that out that day, and I was like so surprised. I'm like, dude, I've just been using this wrong the whole time, and I thought it was the Hasbro stadium. I kept blaming my Hasbro stadium because it's too small. Oh, the width is bad. I need to get it to Kartomi. No, I don't. No, I don't. I just need to adapt to that stadium, and there are some bits that will kind of show you the difference between Hasbro and TT stadiums, but really, I think the only difference is like the width, honestly. Like the TT stadium is more of a square, the Hasbro stadium is more of a rectangle, but
Yeah. Well,
You
I will
know,
say, I do
it's just a
think it
matter of
is.
adapting.
I do think it's a matter of adjustment because the angles are going to be, they're going to feel steeper because you have less time, right? So, like for instance, because it's less wide as you travel, it becomes steeper faster. You're going over that angle, right? Not slowly. You're cutting across that side rapidly. So guess what happens? It's a lot steeper. So you have to kind of adjust your bits and your angles, right? Your text to those bits. So I do agree. I do think because it is narrower, people have it in their heads that it's so different, I guess. And it's funny because like um you are one of the few people who's willing to look at something. I've noticed every time I go back and I'll put on like your live stream while I'm, doing something for my business or whatever. Because I have a business IRL as well as working full time. So I'm constantly like listening, watching videos while I do something, etc. Um, it's so weird to me because a lot of times I'll put on the live stream and then I'll be like, oh, hey, I didn't know that part. And what was actually crazy was I had never even talked about Phoenix Swing on Gearball, and next thing I know, you're here. I was like, oh my god, and you were like, yeah, this is pretty good. I'm like, holy crap, that's one of my favorite combos. And it's just convergent evolution. Like people who are experimenting are going to come across these I guess you could call them phenomenons of, oh hey, these two parts work well in tandem together. You know what I mean? And it's so funny to see because it's like
Yeah,
the people who deny that this is the reality, I almost kind of laugh at them because I'm like, but this is the reality. Like whether you want to admit it or not, but I've realized for them, I think it's the fact that admitting that this is the reality means that they feel inadequate rather than trying to step up to the plate and you know what I mean? Really grow and improve as players. You know what I mean? It's just it's very
yeah,
bizarre. It's very bizarre, but it is something where I've noticed a lot of us um, who are experimenting are kind of coming to the same conclusions about things, and it's almost like if you test for yourself, you'll find this commonality. Um, I don't know why the Beyblade, and I do because a lot of times people, something I remember learning about years ago was in scientific studies they found like a lot of people be like, oh, so you think you're unique? I don't. I really don't because human beings are just not that different. Like no matter how different you might think you are, we're all kind of the same. Like we all kind of have the same experiences and there's always somebody who can relate. And I've noticed a thing where the people, and I don't know if you find this the same kind of axiom as I do, but I found that the people who typically think sort of more broad-minded are more open people. Like they're more open to possibilities and saying, oh hey, well maybe this can work, maybe there is a difference, and are willing to experiment. And the best way I could explain it is if you've ever seen Jurassic Park 3. I know a lot of people shit on that movie, but Alan Grant was talking about Billy, one of the characters, and he says there's two types of people. There's astronomers and astronauts, and he's like, in the astronomer, right, wants to go out there and touch, whereas or stand in safety and look, whereas the astronaut, right, is willing to actually go explore. And I feel like that most of the credit should belong, in my opinion, to both of them. I don't think that one is more important than the other. I think both are needed. But I think that we have to realize whether people want to. I think part of it is that in this case, the person looking through the telescope, a lot of times they have a superiority complex, right? But you'll never go there. You know what I mean? Like you'll never go there. You'll never experience it. Versus getting to experience the thrill of solving a combo or solving the tech that's needed to make this combo work so well. And I would dare say I'm a mix of both because I like exploration. I wouldn't say I explore as much as you do. I would say I'm a little bit more kind of milk toast, I guess you could say. Because like I will explore some, but then I'll be like, yeah, my Cobalt Dragoon on low rush is so good. You know what I mean? And just get hype, or I'll use Dragoon on elevate. So it's not like I hate meta. It's not like I'm some sort of hater on the meta and I think it's trash. Like complete opposite. Complete opposite. I love some of these meta bays. I love Wizard Rod. I used Wizard Rod in a tournament fairly recently. So I think that there's a big misconception about us. Like we're like, no, I want to go. We're going on a trip in our favorite rocket ship, like to the astronaut. I'm fine doing either or, but
Yeah.
there's a part of me, right, that wants to go out there just once and touch the moon. You know what I mean? Like I'm one of those people. So it's very difficult for me because it's like you said, I'm fine with the castle that I've been handed of Beyblade X, but at the same time there's a part of me that says, but that doesn't mean I can't improve this castle, maybe tear down a few walls and maybe, you know, hell, maybe add some more walls, you know what I mean? Maybe build a new wing. You know what I mean? Maybe build an arcade in the castle. Who knows? Like I don't like the way that people are so unopen to exploration. And it's like just touch the moon once in your life. You know what I mean? Get the
Yeah.
experience. Um, but yeah, no, I completely agree. It's like people are just happy sitting in this castle someone else made for them, and I think it's a little bit tragic because I feel like
It is.
you cheap yourself out of that experience of touching the moon. You know what I mean? But yeah,
Totally. Yeah.
I don't know. Like it's a bit of a sombering feeling now. Now I have emotions towards it. So, but yeah, no, I think that about does it. I think this has been a really good. Holy crap! Wow, we've been going for 42 minutes. It doesn't feel like it's been 42 minutes. Jesus Christ. This has been such. This is why I kind of wanted to do this podcast because I feel like so many content creators out there have so many unique perspectives to offer. You know what I mean? Especially on subjects where, admittedly, I feel like we've kind of become. I hate to use the word complacent, but I can't really like use any other word. You know what I mean? Like it's like a lot of people have just become fucking
Yeah.
complacent, and it's like to give people who maybe think differently outside the box and who have become pillars of free thought and ideas in the Beyblade sphere. It's like they're kind of flowers. You know what I mean? They're big ups. Um, but yeah, thank you again so much for coming on. For those of you who don't know, again, Zio's channel, I will link it in the. I'll put it in the description, and I'll put it in the comments, and try. I'll put it in the description, and then if he wants to link his TikTok in the comments. Sorry, I had to think back to how we were going to structure that. Um, so that way you guys can
Oh.
find his channel and find uh his TikTok. I don't know what is TikTok called a channel? Is that still is it how does that work? I am not on TikTok, so I don't know. I apologize. um
Um. So it's kind of like Instagram. You make your posts. You can make your stories. You can even go you can make a video of 10 minutes. You can go live. Over there, and yeah, it's pretty much like Instagram, and I'd say it's sort of similar to Facebook too. Yeah. Yeah.
Word. It's weird. Oh, excuse me. Yawning on my own podcast. How dare I? This is what happens when you don't sleep, kids. Make sure you get plenty of sleep. It's bad for your neurological system to not. But either way, it doesn't affect me because I'm a drawn sworn main, so I live off of no sleep and caffeine. But um, it is one of those things where
Yeah.
I've never used TikTok, so like, admittedly, maybe I should give it a try. Like I've seen TikToks posted on other things. I've never done it, but But yeah, guys, thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your day to check out this podcast. Um,
Um,
any closing words? Anything you want to say? Plug? Um,
yeah, I'd like to add one more thing. It's actually a bit more of a story, but like I feel like I didn't give enough of like my experience at the Hasbro tournament
oh, for
and like
sure.
how
Keep
it
going.
really just changed me. Like yeah, it actually changed me. So I will say this. I actually went to Bradenton 2 times, right? One time I just went there to like kind of, since I only had time for free play, I just went over there and free play. When you said about like people like they get flabbergasted when you beat them with something that on paper it isn't good, and like they have a bunch of Pikachu faces and stuff like that on,
Yeah.
like the surprise Pikachu.
Yeah, the
It's like
what?
I put a lot of those faces on. I put so many of those, like I made them look like that plenty of times in just free play, and that's what made me come back for the second time there, right? And how can I say it? When I found out that I could spin finish Wizard Rod with a Stock Health Chain and knock it out by like extreme finish, I was like, yeah, I got you. And then I like knocked out a Silver Wolf on Hexa by overfinish with a Stock Rhino, and I was like taxing its stamina too. There were some games that were pretty close on stamina, and
No,
it
I
was
agree.
like,
I agree.
how can I
Health
say it?
Chain, stock combo Health Chain is a monster, but you are like, it's this weird thing where you have to figure out how to rip it as hard as you possibly can, but still control the winder to get the tech. Like, nobody understands. I'm glad you said it because it's like you have to rip hard, but you still have to get that launch perfect to get your tech or your angle off. So it's like it is a bit of a more complicated. I know exactly what you're talking about. Like it is an absolutely goated bay, but like in the rod matchup, there's like just a hard rip you're gonna have to do, and you're going to have to get it like a little more perfect than you would something like I don't know, like Phoenix Swing on Point. Phoenix Swing on Point, you could just rip, and there's at least a 30% chance you're just gonna knock some shit out. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's
Yeah, I didn't even know that was a bad matchup for Rod. I just found that out right now. Um,
yeah. Oh
but
yeah,
yeah,
because
like
it's
how
a
can I say it?
monster.
A lot of times I don't know what I'm doing, but then like I pulled off a bunch of wins, and so that's what made me go back to that tournament. And I scored third place with like up until the semifinals, I still had Stock Rhino in my deck, and it was like it was crazy. I also, kind of laid on the excuse that they were using double extreme stadium. That's a gimmick stadium that has no real meta, and like I lost to that, right? And like, how can I say? I used that as a cope thing. And up until this point, like up until I went to this Hasbro tournament, I kind of like. I'll admit it. I was a meta hater. Like I just set out to crush the meta. The second time I went to that tournament, like my mentality and my attitude was like vicious. If I saw you using Cobalt Dragoon on Elevate, I was gonna swear to like burst it, pocket it, just
Oh yeah, it
torture it. And
does
same thing
burst.
with
It does
Wizard Rod,
burst.
and
It's
like
it does burst. It bursts a lot. That's my biggest gripe with Elevate Dragoon is and why I like Low Rush so much because like Elevate just pops, man.
yeah. And so like how can I say it? I was just like so pumped in that tournament, and that was like my first ever tournament. So of course I was pumped, but also it was like I had this I felt some type of way about like anything meta, and I was like, if I ever get to face this, I'm gonna make it like my my career highlight to beat it and to like beat it with something that's not supposed to like beat it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And and then I came to this Hasbro tournament. I found out about it the same week it was going down, so I'm pretty glad I got to catch it. But I'm no longer a hater of meta, and this is what I want to tell people, especially like the rogue people. Don't ever get cocky and don't hate the meta. Please don't do what I did because
Well, it's
here's
it's
the thing.
yeah, it is a thing where I feel like meta is meta for a reason. Like it obviously, and then people who are good using meta are a threat. right? Like I've been using a lot of arrow on 360 level, and Wizard Arrow 360 level as a push attacker is fantastic, but it's not as good as Rod on level. I'm not staying in on Rod on level with my Wizard Arrow on level because I know that matchup is bad and I'm gonna lose. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna stay in on it. I completely agree. It's you don't want to sleep on the meta player, especially if they have skill, because it's like, boy, you better know your matchup. You better for me, another great example is Nightmail. Nightmail is the bane of my existence. I hate it. I think it is the ugliest Beyblade that has ever existed. I think,
Yeah.
and I can say this only because my son is a Nightmail main. But I genuinely hate Nightmail probably more than anything else on the face of the planet. I am actually more, if I'm being honest, of a Night Shield, Night Lance. I think Night Mail is hideous. I don't know how you could look at the beauty that is Night Shield, the absolute glory of Night Lance, and that perfectly round triangular shape. You know what I mean? And decide that instead you want to trade all that for the failed abortion looking thing that is Night Mail, because Night Mail is hideous, dude, with the weird little loose balls in it, and it looks like, have you ever made pizza dough and you've just made little pinches in the pizza dough for no reason? That's what it looks like. It's hideous. And but
Man.
like I can still get clapped by it, and I'm all too aware of that. So for that reason, I avoid certain matchups on my team against Nightmail because I know it's not going to end well. You know what I mean? So I do agree. I do think
Yeah.
it is a little bit of you do have to use a little bit of caution against some of the meta boys, because some of the meta boys, definitely know what they're doing. I do think a lot of them are brain dead because a lot of them just again coast off of, well, I have Phoenix Wing on Rush, so my 160 or 360 Rush Phoenix Wing technically can KO point and also pretty much 90% of everything out there. And then it's like I'm here on Wizard Rod with, again, 360 and level, and they're like, oh, that's easy. And then you clap them, and they're like, huh? Wait, what? I had someone once call a judge because there's no way that 360 level arrow beats 360 rush, Phoenix Wing, and I was like, but I just did. And like, yeah, the judge re-inspect my bay, and the judge is like, no, this is a legitimate Hasbro. It's not a teeth, because it's the green wizard arrow, my clapped out green wizard arrow, the one that's like
Yeah.
smoother than paper. Now, yeah, it was that wizard arrow, and I was using the level and whatchamacallit 360, and they were just like flabbergasted that, because it is a Hasbro green arrow, and they were just like, what do you mean, like how did you just beat? And I'm like, dude, like I know my combo, I know what I match up against. And then he went into Rod Ball hoping that like maybe he could out stamina, and then I just knocked out Rod Ball. you know so I do agree. I think that there's just a certain amount of you have to be cautious with meta players, because and take the trick is, I've learned to take everybody as a threat. Like, assume that they are, even if they appear incompetent, assume they are the best player in the world. And you know like imagine that your life depends on this, and start from that point in that position. And I think you'll find it's a
Yeah.
little bit easier to deal with them, because there's never a point where you've underestimated them and they have the upper hand. You know what I mean? But yeah,
Right.
I think this is a pretty good spot to end off the video. Again, thank you guys for taking the time out of your day to check this out. And yeah, we will go ahead and see you guys in the next one. I am going to try to get a cool time on the next one. Me and him are going to sync up our schedules. So yeah, thank you guys for checking this out. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys. Remember, I'm going to be linking Zio's channel down below. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.